As we get older, I find that our priorities tend to shift. When we were in our 30s and 40s, we had different priorities. We were focused on building careers, starting families, but now that we're getting older, we tend to focus more on our health and our emotional well-being and just leading a simpler, maybe even quieter life. Hi everyone, my name is Susan and welcome to my channel where we'll talk about all things related to getting older and navigating this life through our next chapter. So today I'd like to talk about 6 priorities that I think are very important, and I like to put them into practice for my everyday life. And the first one is to create a home for yourself that feels safe and comfortable, and make it exactly the way you want it. Surround yourself with things that are really important to you. Obviously, family photos are important, and perhaps things from trips that you've taken, if you have a collection of things from recent trips. Things that make your home a place where you just enjoy spending time in and you feel comfortable and relaxed. If you're like me, when your kids were younger, your home was just filled with toys or sports equipment or all kinds of things that, you just never bothered to straighten up on a daily basis or clean up every single day because it was exhausting. And so a lot of that you just let go. And now that the kids are grown and out of the house, you can have your home exactly the way you want it. And it feels very comfortable for you. You want to create a place that you want to come home to and you want to spend time in. A lot of this involves decluttering, and that's a whole other issue, but it is helpful to try and declutter a little bit, at least in the rooms that you live in. Another tip I could share would be to try and rearrange the furniture in your house. It's really kind of fun to change things around. For example, in your living room, you must have a sofa, probably a coffee table, maybe some end tables, maybe even a desk. And if you move some of the furniture around and rearrange the space, it will look different to you, and it might lift your mood or just give you a different perspective on it. And I think it's kind of fun to rearrange the furniture once in a while. We tend to get stuck in a rut where we just have our furniture in the same space all the time. So moving furniture around is really kind of fun. The second priority is to set routines for yourself. And I think routines are so important, especially if you're fully retired, because you've lived a life of structure when you were working, and now that you're retired fully, you need routines throughout the day to give you some structure back to your life. So one way I suggest to do this is to plan the night before what your day will be like. If when you first get up and wonder what in the world you're going to do for the day, if you don't have a plan, the day will just disappear from you. You'll think at night, what in the world did I do today? I don't feel like I did anything. But having a routine gives you some structure and it gives you purpose. Another thing that's important is that if you don't have structure, you may find that you're bored. And boredom throughout the day can create the feeling of loneliness, can even create depression. So your goal is to really keep busy and to have routines that you follow. Now, I certainly don't mean that you should be busy every minute of your life. Of course, you need some quiet time, maybe some me time to just sit and relax, maybe read a book or do a puzzle or do any of the things that you enjoy doing, knitting, crocheting, anything like that. But setting aside some certain times for, certain chores that you have to do is good, or setting aside time for some fun time. going out and going to lunch or dinner with a friend, or maybe just go shopping, window shopping. All of these things are putting routines into our day, which is very important. The third is about money, and it's to really prioritize intentional spending, not impulsive or random spending. At this stage of my life, in my 70's, there's not a whole lot that I really want to buy. It's more when I spend my money, it's more like buying things that I absolutely need. And it could be big ticket items or it could be something really small. But as far as going out and spending money needlessly, I really don't do that anymore. I don't even feel the need to do that anymore because I pretty much have everything I need. If it's decor for the house, I really don't need it. I have so much stuff that I really want to get rid of. So I don't need to bring anything more into the house. There are things that require my attention around the house to spend money on, things that don't make me happy even to spend money on, but you have to do that. Could be hiring a painter to do some painting outside, trim work or something. Things that I can't do. I tend to do a lot in the house myself. I have painted many rooms and ceilings and things like that myself. But as far as outside scraping and painting, that's not something I do. So that's something I would spend money on. And I cut my own lawn, so I don't need lawn care. But maybe a lot of you do. And that's something that you might need to spend money on. So yeah, spending money on things that are impulsive or unnecessary, really, at this point in my life, it just doesn't suit me. And the fourth is your health and well-being. And there are 3 priorities to keep in mind that are important. The first is rest and good sleep. It's very important to get plenty of rest and to get enough sleep. And it should be good quality sleep. Sleep is essential to the health of our brain. And so getting good quality sleep is very important. I know it's really hard sometimes. If you're anything like me, you wake up during the night, I don't know, maybe twice, at least 2 times during the night to go to the bathroom. It's just very annoying. And so it's hard to feel like you're getting really good quality sleep, but with any luck, I go right back to sleep. And perhaps some of you don't go right back to sleep, and that can be frustrating, I know. But to try and get good quality of sleep is really important. And the next is, of course, to stay active. We all know that staying active, moving, walking is really great. But also strength training is really important. We lose a lot of muscle as we get older. And so lifting weights or doing some strength training is really very important for our muscles and for our brain, actually. I try to lift weights that are 5 pounds, and I try to do that as daily as possible. And the third in this health priority is to make sure that you get enough protein in your diet. As we get older, again, we need more protein, and there are certain guidelines for how much protein each person needs based on their weight and height. And in order to get more protein, we have to, eat certain foods, lean meats, fish, nuts. I'm constantly thinking about eating enough protein throughout the day. I really make it a point to think about what I'm going to eat and am I getting enough protein. Having enough protein as we get older is really important, and that's a top priority for me. Number 5, prioritize, is to keep up with friends. It's really easy for us to kind of sit back, stay in our home, do things around the house, and not get ourselves out the door more. And so I think it's really beneficial for us, and I try to do this too, is to call friends and make dates for maybe just going out to lunch, even to go and take a walk. I try to walk with a friend of mine on Sunday mornings at the park. So, we make a point to get together, and it's just nice to walk and talk and, have some time with someone else. It's very important. My mother was a widow at 44, and she never remarried. And I remember her always saying that having friends was work. And she said, because a lot of times they don't call and you have to be the one to make the call. And I think what happens is that people, when they get stuck at home, especially women, they might think that other people are out doing things and they don't want to bother you or whatever. But then you call them and they're so happy to hear from you. So, make it a point to call some friends. We do have a small circle of friends as we get older, that's for sure. And if you have one, two, if you have three, that's excellent. Really good friends that you can rely on, that's great. But a lot of us don't. A lot of our circle of friends has really gotten smaller, and we only, sometimes we only have one really good friend, and that's all it takes, just to keep in touch and to get out of the house, do things together. It's very important. And the last one is something that we hear an awful lot about, and it's to prioritize learning either new things or just don't ever stop learning about anything, really. Just learning something new, it's so important to us, to our brains. Pick something that interests you and, make it a priority that you want to learn about this particular thing. Everything that I prioritize is something that I do to keep my brain active and my body active. And as we get older, I think it's really important to continue to do this. And so let me know in the comments if you have any thoughts or ideas, or just want to share some things that you do that you think are important that I haven't touched on today. And let me know what thoughts you might have and share it with everyone. So I thank you for listening today, and I'll see you next week.